flow, and we don't even realize that there's a reason behind the fact that we do things the way we do them. And we don't take the time either to review that plan, to review the goals and review why we do the things the way we do. And sometimes we get, we even get angry with that. And, why do I have to do it this way and not some other way? And we don't spend that time thinking about it. And that's a little bit what I want to bring today. I want to talk, my plan tonight for us is to talk first about planning. What planning? Because most of the time, again, I speak for myself. We go with the flow, and there's very little planning on what we do. Daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, few years, and I was going to say a lifetime, but we learned there's no lifetime, an incarnation time. What we understand by lifetime. But so how is that? When we'll see that planning is very important. Without planning, we can hardly achieve anything. And there's certain mistakes that we tend to do, and it also happens with spiritual planning. We tend to do some mistakes. I want to go through those so that we can know what to avoid when planning our spiritual development. A plan for success. There are certain things that we can do. We can be proactive in doing certain things that will lead us to success in whatever goal is that we have. And finally, make it a habit, because nothing that we just do for a moment, for a day, for a week, or for a month, and then we drop, it's going to really help. So making things a habit, that is going to help. So planning. Let me ask you, who here uses planning regularly? Who does planning? You? Okay, you do what, like yearly plan?
Daily.
No, some are dropping already. 5-year plan. Does anybody have a 5-year plan? Yeah?
5 years.
5-year plan.
Not now. 1 year. Was 5 years when I was younger.
Okay, so you used to have that 5-year plan.
Yeah.
And was it useful?
Yeah, for anything I want to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
So, which I did, thanks God.
Okay.
So, but now I'm planning every year.
Mm-hmm.
In
Year by year.
process, right.
Okay, excellent. Year by year. And about like month to month or week to week, you use that? So more. And day to day, I heard day to day. Okay, so this is consistent with, I've been going through a few studies and research, and it is consistent with what we see, that first of all, most people don't plan. So depending on the studies that I've read, about 20 to 30% of people use planning in general. And this is just one survey that they found out. They interviewed about, I don't know, some like 1,000, 2,000 people, and they found out that only about a third of people do have a plan for life. But this is like mostly on the high side of it, on the high end of it. Now, the first question is, many people don't have a plan, right? And that's consistent with our group too. At least not a life plan. Now, do we think we can get to somewhere or achieve a goal if we don't have a plan? Is that reasonable to think? No?
Does anybody knows the future now?
The future?
Yeah, tomorrow. Does anybody knows?
I don't know. But I think about, okay, more material things maybe. Has anybody here run a marathon ever? 1, 2, 3, okay. There's a few. So this is just an example. For those who have, and by the way, anybody could do it. Or a 5K, or what, anybody can do it here. I dare you, anybody can do it. But for those who have, could you have done it without planning? No. No.
I did it planning, 5 months planning.
You need 5 months plan.
Just 5.
6 months, 5 months plan. You can't, nobody can think about running a marathon without planning or, or even 5K. So when we think about our spiritual life, why would it be different? Why would it be, why do we think, this center is nice, I feel good here, something's going to happen, just because I come here. This is just an example. It'd be like saying, oh, I'm just going to run once in a while. I'll get out, preferably in the morning or in the evening because it's very hot in Florida. Okay, so I'm doing that correctly. And then in a year or two, I decide now I can run a marathon because I've been going out to run a little bit. It's not going to work. I'm not going to be able to finish. So, which is my goal. In this case, the goal is to finish, right? To do the marathon. So that's the question. Why would it be different when we're talking about the things that we need for our spiritual development? Whether it is developing our virtues, I want to develop humility, or I want to develop patience, or compassion, or I want to work on my meditation, whatever it is that I set as my goal. So, of course, the first thing, and we've seen that, is that we need a goal. We need to set our goals. We need to have that. And then after we have that, we need a plan so that we can practice, so that we can develop that muscle. Because our spiritual life requires, as anything else, that spiritual muscle. And we have to practice that, and we have to, and if we do that, if we want to do that, again, we need a plan. Sometimes we put ourselves the excuse that, oh, yeah, there's a plan, there's a goal, there's something there, but I just don't remember. Because, I talk to my mentors, and we like to say this in the Spiritist Center. I've talked to my mentors before I incarnated, and yeah, it's pretty clear. There's got to be something there. I just don't remember. So, I'm here just, again, going with the flow, trying to see if I hit the mark, which I don't even take the time to know which mark is that. So we can say, I don't remember that, but we can't say, I can't find that out. We can. That's up to us. In the group tonight, in the study group, we were talking about will and how there's no obstacle to whatever I want to do with my life or in my life or about my life whatsoever. I can't say, oh, this is happening to me. I have this circumstance. I have this bad influence, this obsessor, name it, whatever it is. Nothing trumps my will, really. And that's in the base of planning. That's the first thing about planning. So we can say, I don't remember, but really that's not an excuse. If you think, and I believe most of us, because we're sitting here today, we believe that our spiritual life it's important. It has an importance for us. If we believe that, then we need to ask ourselves the questions. we need to ask ourselves, do I feel I have a purpose? So, ask yourself, do you feel you have a purpose? And if the answer is yes, have you looked for it? Have you taken the time to look for that purpose? And again, if the answer is yes, are you planning in order to fulfill that purpose? Because sometimes we do some of the steps, but we don't get all the way there. So for planning, we need to know the goal. We need to make a plan for it, and then we need tools to execute that plan. And we're going to see some of that tonight. So about the mistakes that we need to avoid when we are working on our spiritual planning. First, about that purpose that we were talking about, we need clarity about the purpose. That's the first thing. Do I know what it is? Do I know what I want to achieve? Do I know if I mean, it's not the same thing if I want to cultivate humility, or if I want to cultivate patience, or if I want to achieve a certain state of connection with my own spirit through meditation, or what is it that I want to do? And more importantly, once I have a clear goal, what does that goal mean to me? Because if I just get a book, whatever book it is, get the Bible or the Spirit's book, it doesn't matter, or something I see on TV, whatever, and maybe I'm moved by someone's example and what someone has done or has said or has written, and maybe I want to adopt that goal. But what does that mean to me, to my spirit, to my essence? Does that connect with it, or is just something that maybe looks good for society? Oh, it looks good to be charitable and to spend time working, I don't know, volunteering at a hospital, or it doesn't matter, whatever the example you want to take. Is that something that it's mine, that comes from me, or I'm just borrowing it? So about that purpose, it has to be a clear purpose, and it has to be in relation to yourself. Then it's important to manage the expectations. The spiritual development, our spiritual growth, life, experience, it's not a destination, it's a journey. So we need to, in that sense, we need to manage the expectations and say, and know that, oh, just because I can't meditate for an hour, I'm not having the experience. I didn't reach nirvana, or some other state, or I can't communicate with spirits. What am I doing wrong? And it's not a goal, it's a journey. So there are many steps in a journey, and it's good to manage the expectations so that we are not too hard on ourselves, because that's just going to throw us off that path. Not being too hard on ourselves and not being too hard on others either. And having some structure. So part of the plan always is structure, and sometimes we are too strict or too rigid with that structure. So that's part of the expectation. So I have a plan, it's from 9 to 10 and from 6 to 7, this way and that way, and then it didn't work like this, or someone came and made the noise that they were not supposed to make, Like we were saying yesterday, beginning the meditation, there was a lot of noise. So we have to manage the expectations and be flexible with things. Things can happen, and that's okay. So structure is good, but we need to allow for imperfection, and that's fine. Another mistake is not having accountability. So, just trying to, just going to the center. Again, I go back to the same example, but just go to the center, and I'm just expecting that things will happen. I don't know what things. I don't know how. I don't know what exactly, but it's okay. I just, trust in a system or something. Again, go with the flow. It's good to have check-ins. If you have a 5-year plan or a 1-year plan or a weekly plan, whatever it is, to have marks. Again, you can be flexible, and there's room for imperfection, but you have some accountability, deadlines. I'm going to start meditating soon, or when I go to a Vipassana, or whatever. No, put a deadline, then you can change it, but it's good to have deadlines. And another thing that helps with accountability is to tell others about our goals and what we're doing, and in this case about our spiritual life. That's very difficult. I talk for myself. It's very difficult to tell other people, I'm doing this. My friends, my family. I have friends here, but I have friends for 40 years, and some of them don't know what I'm doing and what I'm trying to work on and what I'm making an effort to achieve or to change in myself. And if they would, I can get support. So that's the reason behind telling others and holding yourself accountable versus other people that are important to you. And it's that they can support you in that effort. And it helps to keep on track when we do that. About fears and obstacles in any course, in any path that we take, and spiritual path is no different, we're gonna face obstacles and we're gonna face fears. It's important to be aware of that and to recognize those obstacles and those fears. It's important to face them. Many times we tend to just ignore them. We think that by ignoring a problem, by ignoring an obstacle, by ignoring a fear, it's just going to disappear. And again, what's going to happen is that we're going to be thrown off our path if we don't face those obstacles and those fears. There was a commercial, I don't know if on TV in the States or Brazil, for those of you who grew up there. In Spain, there was a TV commercial for for some product to fight cockroaches, right? And
all the countries have those commercials.
yeah, and it was, but the thing is, this one, it was number one. The product was number one. And what they claimed is that you would use this product and the cockroaches would first die and then disappear in this order, okay? And there was like a music associated to the commercial and, to it, so you would remember this. Now, I always wonder, like, how do they make them disappear? This is very weird. And to this day, I don't know if that happens. And if it happens, how did they do it? But to me, it didn't pass like trust on that product. The fact that they would say this is going to disappear. but for many people does. It's like appealing the idea that a problem is going to disappear, I'm not going to have to do anything, or, just do this, buy the thing and do this. But things don't disappear. So that notion, it's pretty wrong, and it doesn't help us when we're trying to walk that path and achieve a goal, right? We tend to be success-oriented. Not all of us, but many of us, and I include myself, we tend to be success-oriented. So, what's the goal? And I want to get there. And I want to measure things by that goal. And we tend to use external things. And when we're talking about spiritual development, it's something that it's inside of us. It's our inner growth. And we can't measure that in terms of success, really. And we measure quite often, we measure how we achieve goals and how we get to fulfill our plans by external validation, by other people saying, oh, wow, that's very good what you're doing. Even here, you may be part of a mediumistic table and you're doing some work communicating with spirits, and then you get people saying, wow, what a work you do, and that's very, very important and tough and meaningful. Well, we should measure things by meaning, but it's our meaning. It's not related to validation for others. So if we apply those yardsticks that we use for material things to our spiritual development, we're going to get it wrong. And it's interesting because you can see how many of the things that we're talking about, you can use them both for achieving material goals and spiritual goals. But some, they just don't match. And the way we measure success, it's one of them. It doesn't match. It'd be like measuring spiritual growth with, any superficial kind of measure or way. And important also is to appreciate the journey. So, again, not being that goal-oriented, appreciating the steps, the different steps that the journey has. Even take the example of meditation. So the first phases when you're starting to meditate, same as when you're starting to run. It's similar experience. It's very hard, and it seems like you're going nowhere. That's why if I tell you anybody can run a marathon or a 5K, anybody can run. Any of you can, plan for it, get to it, and run. But at the beginning, it seems that you're not going to be able. And even though it looks like that, there's a lot that you can enjoy and that you can learn from every stage, even from those stages that seem like super hard and like this is something I'm never going to be able to do. You can find meaning in each one of those steps. Finally, and I took this aside, these two mistakes or things to consider more than mistakes. One is the awareness of oneself. We can't, if I don't know who I am, it doesn't matter if I set a goal, a plan, I do things, I can be way off if I don't know myself. So first thing is a poor awareness or poor knowledge of myself, and that means I'm not going to account for my weaknesses, my limitations, my tendencies. All of that, they play a huge role when I'm trying to plan when I'm trying to do my spiritual planning. Now there are different tools and that I can use to work on that awareness of myself and that self-knowledge. And we have practiced and teach some of those here. We do meditation, every Tuesday, and we have used the Enneagram as well as one tool to know ourselves. And I bring that particular one is I want to give you a practical example on how that works. Now, the second one is, I said discipline. It has to do with this idea of creating habits. If I have this marvelous plan in place and my goals and everything is right, if I don't manage to make everything a habit, I'm never going to get there. I'm going to stop, right? So small changes, this is a very important idea, very small changes can have a huge impact. Things, because when we're talking about habits, the small changes, if I keep them, they compound themselves and they make big differences. And this is the other side of the coin of what I've been saying. Oh, we come to the center, we come here, you're here, and nothing is going to happen just because, but something is happening because you're here. And I can see this in myself. I can look back 10 years ago and look at myself now and see the huge impact that just working here has for me. This is my personal experience. It's huge, and it's made of just a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit every day. And same thing happens with meditation. You may say, oh, meditating 1 minute per day, that's nothing, 1 minute. Well, try to do that for a year, and then go up to 2 minutes, and then 3, and then 5, which will be easy. I tell you, if you meditate 1 minute per day for a year, even less, you can ramp it up very easily, very easily. And that makes a huge difference. And then you look at yourself, and you will see that change. If we don't do that planning and those little changes, we'll look back, and how can we expect anything to happen, really? It may happen because we go with the flow, but that's not the way things go, right? So let me give you an example. To know myself is to succeed. And this is my personal example, right? I know some of you know your Enneagram type. I have the info for all of them. So if you're curious, I don't want to show it here and go through 9 types and what you have to do and so on. But if you want to, as an exercise, we can do that. This is for myself and for those of you who are type 3 and know you are type 3 here. What are the things that I have to account for when I'm trying to plan for my spiritual growth? And again, it may apply to you, but it especially applies to someone who is like myself, very goal-oriented, very achiever, who thinks about realizing things, about doing things, and someone for whom it's very difficult to look beyond the way things look and seem to myself and to others. Okay, that's my personality. That's how my ego works, right? So in order for me to be more successful in my spiritual development, first, I need to define success in spiritual terms. Why? Because success is very important to me. Even if it's unconscious, even if I don't realize that success is important for me, it is. So when I'm defining success in terms of spirituality, in spiritual terms, what I'm doing is I'm relating easily to that what I'm trying to get to. So if I'm trying to give importance to my spiritual life, what is success in that sense mean for me? Is it being more humble? Is it listening more? Is it being more compassionate? Is it feeling more what other people are feeling? Whatever it is, right? The second is to schedule time for reflection. When I'm a person that it's constantly doing something, which is, again, it's my case, I'm constantly doing something, I need to put it in my schedule because I have a to-do list. So if, say, meditating, coming to the center, preparing a talk, whatever it is, it's on my schedule, I'll get to do it. So I need to plan that in my schedule. Whether it's prayer, meditation, whatever it is. And embracing vulnerability. For me, looking bad, it's very bad. Very, very bad. I don't allow for that. If you've seen me here for years, you may think that I'm always cool. I'm not. But it seems like I am, because for me, showing that I'm not, it's bad. It looks bad. I think it looks bad. Being a good boy, it's something that for me, it's good, successful, so I look like a good boy. Man, whatever. But I can't grow like that. There's no way. I just can't. I'm not facing my fears if I do that, right? So I need, and again, this may apply to you, but not necessarily. For me, these three things are key. So knowing myself, it's very important so that I can look into what's important for me. Is anybody curious?
Yes.
Okay, I heard a yes. Gracie?
Yes.
Was that you? Type?
My time?
I'm not gonna assume.
I want to know your type.
I'm a type 3.
Yes,
I'm a
Oh,
type.
three. Okay, I'm type 1.
Okay. Let me see if this makes sense.
Can we find out?
Oh, we're gonna have a workshop on the Enneagram if you're curious about it. But for those of you who know, let's see if this makes sense. Being someone who is strict, right? Rigid sometimes, searches for the right thing.
Yeah.
Is that all correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's three things that you should be looking at. One is setting realistic goals. When you want to see a perfect world, you set unrealistic goals for yourself. So being a little humble in your goals and in what you want to see for yourself. Acknowledge, I'm going to read this, acknowledge that spiritual growth is an ongoing process and perfection is not attainable. It's out of the question. Set achievable goals that allow for progress without setting unrealistic expectations. So that would be the first thing. The second one, create a balanced routine. Incorporate spiritual practices such as meditation, prayer, journaling into your daily routine to foster a constant spiritual practice. And the third one, see, for me, that was very difficult. Embrace vulnerability. For you, embrace imperfection. That is difficult.
No, but I remember I've done that. Yeah, it is that is difficult for me because, I have the tendency to be perfect.
Yeah. So embrace imperfection. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
You fail.
Work at it.
One question is about embrace vulnerability, and then
Mhm.
says open up to others. But how can we identify and select and trust someone to share something that is so private and intimate? Example. Yeah, okay.
That's a
But
good.
it's like in life.
I know.
I have a friend. It was a business relationship that grew into a little bit more friendship. And I was comfortable with them, with a couple, and in one of dinner parties, I decided to share something spiritual. And I regret deeply that I did that. Because I never forgot their faces, because we knew each other in the business level, become friends, and all of a sudden they look at me like, they were like shocked with what came out of my mouth. And like the conversation and dinner and everything ends right there. And so how to identify and select and to know the right people to share such a deep private thing?
Before I go into that, Roberta is right. Therapy helps. Okay, so it's and you can call it therapy or having support so that you can lean on. Okay, lean on. But for me, that being vulnerable has to do with me, not with anybody. So if I open something and then I regret that I opened it, I was not ready to be vulnerable. Otherwise, if you don't accept me, or if it could be that, or maybe I was not being completely honest, because sometimes we half open something, and then we're not here, not there. I'm talking about my experience. What happens with me, and if I truly open something and I look vulnerable and I'm doing it for me, it's okay. But I have to know myself and know, when it's okay for me to do that. But it's hard. No matter, it's going to be hard. Cara.
Yeah, when we talk about embracing vulnerability, I hear what you're saying, right? So I'm wondering, so knowing that it's different for each one of us, right? We have to know ourselves. We're all going to have different. But when you say embrace vulnerability, are you meaning to share what we're not so proud of about ourselves without attachment to how the person we're sharing with takes it?
I mean, being honest.
Being honest without attachment to how people respond to your honesty.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Because how people react and respond, and it's not up to me. But I have to deal with it. It's not up to me, but I have to deal with it. So that's part of the process. But again, this is for me, it's for you, Cara, and other people here. And for others, it's not a big deal to show vulnerability. Not a big deal. For me to be sloppy with things, it's okay. It's not a big deal if I don't do it perfectly. So you have to know what it is for you. You have to know what you need to work on in order to grow, because that growth, it's going to hurt. There's going to be some pain in the process, and yours, it's only yours. It's different from mine. So that's why I brought my experience, and I have the list here. If anybody's curious later, I'll share with you. And if anybody's curious about the use of this tool, which is just one of many tools that you can use. It's just one that I found very useful, very good. That's why I share it here. We do it regularly. We do workshops on the Enneagram, so you can learn about it. And I'm going to open up something now to finish. And I always overdo it with the talks. So I have a few more points, which I'm not going to open. It's going to be for another day. But I always say I'm gonna, I'm gonna be short, and I'm gonna finish too early, and you know it's 9:02. I don't want to drag it any longer. So, Cynthia, you can take that off the screen. Thank you, because we're gonna finish here. I hope this helped you think about why we're coming here and why we're here, and this is a topic that lately it's on my mind and on my life, so that's why I wanted to share it with you today.
Hey, you acting on number 3?
And I'm acting on them. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Thank you.
Thank you.
See, I have on my watch here. So. Otherwise, I get scolded.